the sacroiliac joint persists because the back of your pelvis was never opened with true containment. While you try to stretch, adjust, or strengthen through the front of the body, the posterior region remains congested, compacted by layers of protection that the nervous system installed like a kind of alarm at the base. This pain is not a structural defect, it is constant vigilance, a warning that the sacrum still has not found enough safety to release the containment and allow you to move through gestures, rhythms, and loads without going into defense. You are going to discover the 90-90 portal, a geometry of safety that decongests the divine core and teaches the body to open posteriorly without interpreting that as a threat. There is a simple body code capable of making the sacrum seat and the breath descend without obstacles. But the exact moment when that happens depends on something that will be revealed ahead. Closing this video now means continuing to live in compensation, holding everything up through tension, while the base remains on alert because it never received the signal that it can trust. Years of treatment never touched a point where the pain learns to release, and you are about to discover why. This persistent pain is an alarm at the base, an autonomic mechanism that uses the sacroiliac joint as a point of containment when the core does not find enough internal packing. A sacrum without a reliable axis generates constant bodily vigilance, and the nervous system keeps the pain active to prevent you from moving through gestures, rhythms, and loads that it still interprets as a threat. It is not the bone that failed, it is the body saying that the back of the pelvis never received, signaling that it can release without collapsing. In Hermetic traditions, the sacrum was recognized as a sacred bone, the foundation of the temple where inherited memory and future creation meet. When that base is on alert, the entire structure above compensates. The low back tries to command what the pelvis does not trust. The solar plexus rises, the breath shortens. The vertical temple loses its axis because the root remains in protection mode, waiting for a signal of safety that never arrives. The alarm operates like this. When the back congests, the glute hardens like a guard, the low back takes on functions that do not belong to it, and the breath does not descend because the diaphragm does not find a receptive base underneath. Then a small but constant fear arises, getting up from a chair, bending to pick something up, taking a wider step. It is not conscious fear, it is bodily anticipation, a subliminal block that lives before the movement happens. Polyvagal theory reveals that autonomic states are not abstract concepts, they are textures in the body. In the sacroiliac region, this shows up as unilateral rigidity, stabs in the glute, a low back that holds, a truncated breath. The nervous system uses pain as language to say that something still needs to be resolved, and that something is not resolved by analysis or force, but by direct experience of safety in the posterior territory that was never opened with true containment. There is someone who lived exactly this pattern, years of pain that always came back. Attempts that failed because they never touched the real congestion. This person's story illuminates what was just revealed and shows the path the body found to leave the alarm. Eleanor is 46 years old and works as a bank services attendant at a busy branch in the suburbs of Sydney. She spends 8 hours a day sitting in a swivel chair that does not offer adequate lumbar support, alternating between helping customers at the counter and processing documents on the computer. The routine was already heavy before the sacroiliac pain began. But when the unilateral stab appeared 3 years ago, everything got exponentially worse, and she began searching for any solution that promised relief. Eleanor's pain was not constant, it was strategic. It always appeared when getting up from the chair after an hour sitting, as if the pelvis needed to reorganize something before allowing her to stand. The stab in the right glute came with a deep rigidity that climbed into the low back, and she noticed that the base never fully seated. There was always residual tension, as if the body were on alert even in moments of rest. Carrying groceries became a source of anxiety. Climbing the subway stairs demanded mental preparation, and she began avoiding movements that used to be automatic. Eleanor tried physical therapy focused on stretching hip flexors and strengthening the gluteus medius. She did 6 months of weekly sessions where they pulled her leg forward, tried to open the front of the pelvis, taught bridge and clamshell exercises. The pain eased for a few days, then came back with the same intensity. She went to a chiropractor who adjusted the sacroiliac joint with that characteristic pop, but the relief lasted less than a week. No one ever mentioned the back of the pelvis. No one talked about posterior congestion or about what happens when the sacrum does not find internal packing. Access came through a somatic therapist Eleanor found after an exhaustive search in chronic pain forums. The woman worked with applied polyvagal theory and had training in autonomic regulation practices. In the first session, she did not touch Eleanor's pelvis. She only asked her to lie on the floor and observe where the breath stopped, where the body held, where there was fear of releasing. When Eleanor mentioned the stab in the glute and the lockup when standing, the therapist said something that changed everything. The pain is not where you feel it, it is where you never opened. Eleanor learned the 1990 portal there, in the quiet office, lying on the yoga mat with her back supported on the floor and her knees bent at a right angle. The therapist positioned a rolled towel between Eleanor's knees and asked her to exhale longer than she thought possible, feeling the lateral abdominal containment light up, while the gentle pressure into the towel created an internal seal. For the first time in 3 years, Eleanor felt the sacrum seat, not relax, but seat, as if the base had finally found ground. The breath descended without obstacles, and something deep began to yield. The same geometry that reorganized Eleanor's pelvis is about to reorganize yours. The 1990 portal takes the low back out of command and offers the pelvis the chance to reorganize its axis without dispute. Lie on the floor with your back completely supported. Bend your knees and place your feet hip-width apart. Lift your legs so that your knees remain bent at 90 degrees and your thighs form 90 degrees with the torso, creating a geometry where the base no longer needs to hold and can begin to land. This position deactivates the need for lumbar compensation and creates the condition for the back of the pelvis to finally receive the safety signaling the alarm was waiting for. Breathe in deeply through your nose and exhale long through your mouth, longer than you imagined to be possible. During the exhale, feel the lateral abdominal containment light up. It is not forced contraction. It is subtle activation that happens when you empty the air completely and allow the ribs to close toward the center. Repeat this breathing cycle 10 times, paying attention to 3 markers that indicate the body is responding. The breath begins to lengthen without effort. You feel that you can exhale more deeply each cycle. The base lands. There is a real sensation that the sacrum found ground, as if something that was suspended finally seated. The pain loses its tone of urgency, even if the sensation still exists. It no longer carries that weight of constant alert. Now take a face towel, roll it so it is firm but not rigid, and place it between your knees while maintaining the same 90-90 geometry. The towel offers a subtle direction of internal rotation of the pelvis. It is not to push with force. It is to teach the body the path back to packing. Press gently into the towel as you exhale long, and notice how this minimal pressure lights up a different lateral containment. The body learns that it can close to feel safe without collapsing. The towel creates an internal seal, an edge that the nervous system recognizes as a reliable limit, and that changes the threat reading in the posterior region. Keep breathing against the pressure of the towel for 10 more cycles. Feel how the glute that was hardened like a guard begins to soften. Not because you relaxed, but because the core found another way to sustain that does not depend on muscular vigilance. The low back stops trying to command what the pelvis now trusts, and the breath descends to the lower part of the trunk without finding obstacles. This is the moment when the body begins to understand that the back can open because there is true containment. There is enough support for the alarm to lose its function. Use the variation without accessories when the body already tolerates staying with the base supported and you notice you can maintain the geometry without holding through the low back. Use the variation with a towel when the body needs additional direction. When the pelvis still does not know on its own the path back to packing, and the pressure between the knees functions as a sensory guide. There is no hierarchy between the variations. There is suitability to the autonomic state of your body on that specific day. Some days you will need less support, other days you will need more, and learning to recognize that is part of the process of leaving the alarm. Before continuing to the next variations, there is something essential about Eleanor that you need to know, because what happened to her in the days following the first session illuminates what is beginning to happen in your body now. Eleanor practiced the 90-90 portal every day for 2 weeks, alternating between the variation without accessories and the variation with a towel as the body asked. In the first week, the stab in the right glute began to yield. It did not disappear immediately, but it lost that sharp tone of urgency that made her avoid movements. In the second week, she realized she could stand up from the bank chair without needing to prepare mentally. The lockup had vanished and the base seated naturally before she stood. The low back stopped compensating. The breath returned to descending, and she felt for the first time in 3 years that the sacrum had found a reliable axis. Eleanor understood that the problem was never weakness or misalignment. It was a core that had never received enough safety to open the back without going into defense. Physical therapy tried to stretch through the front. The chiropractor adjusted the bone, but no one touched the posterior congestion with true containment. The 90-90 portal did not correct anything. It only offered the body the geometry and the breathing it needed to reorganize the internal reading of threat and allow the alarm to be deactivated. What Eleanor felt in the first 2 weeks is exactly what is beginning to happen in your body now. The sacrum is seating, the base is landing, and the back is beginning to open because it finally found enough containment. Now take a tennis ball or a rubber ball of similar size and position it under the sacrum. right above the coccyx, while maintaining the 90-90 geometry. The ball summons the containment of the core through pressure, returns to the body the sensation of edge, and activates the internal axis in a way the previous variations could not reach. Breathe against the pressure of the ball. Exhale long and feel the core sealing from within. Do not force. Allow the body to organize the response to the support it is receiving. The ball is not there to stretch or mobilize. It is there to teach the nervous system that there is a center that can sustain without needing to compensate above. With each exhale, the sacrum presses gently into the ball, and the lower abdomen responds with reflex containment, creating a feedback circuit that reorganizes the relationship between base and breath. Maintain this variation for 8 to 10 breathing cycles, noticing how the unilateral rigidity begins to yield when the body understands there is reliable ground underneath. For systems in heightened alert, where trust is not born from idea but from tangible support, combine towel between the knees and ball under the sacrum. This is the maximum safety variation, where the geometry offers containment in multiple planes and the body can finally release because there is enough edge. There is enough pressure. There is clear sensory information that it will not collapse. Breathe 10 long cycles in this configuration, feeling how the back that was never opened begins to decongest, because it found the support the alarm has been waiting for years. The 4 variations form a coherent progression, from the body that already tolerates the geometry without accessories to the body that needs maximum support with towel and ball. All of them teach the same code. The back opens when there is true containment. There is no better or worse variation. There is the variation your body needs in that specific moment to leave the alarm and reorganize the axis. The central practice is complete, and your body now carries new information about how the sacrum seats when the base stops defending itself. The physical marker that proves the transformation happened is trackable now. The breath descends without obstacle to the lower part of the trunk. You feel the air arriving where there used to be blockage. The base lands, not only relaxes, but lands with real weight, as if the sacrum had finally found ground and could trust it. Unilateral reactivity to movement decreases. You realize you can stand, bend, rotate without that anticipation of pain that lived before the gesture happened. These signs are not abstract. They are concrete changes. The body registers when the back opens with true containment. To anchor this new state, place your open hand over the sacrum, right above the coccyx, and exhale for 30 seconds. During the exhale, repeat internally, the base seals, the alarm releases. This signal gesture is discreet. It can be done at any time of day, sitting in the chair at work, lying down before sleep, standing waiting for the bus. The micropressure of the hand combined with the long breath reactivates the safety circuit that the 90-90 portal installed, and the body remembers that it can release vigilance because true containment has already been found. When you feel a unilateral stab or lockup when standing in the next days, lie down in the 90-90 portal with the variation your body asks for in that moment. Breathe 10 long cycles, exhale completely each time, and repeat internally. The back found safety. This return protocol turns the video into a long-term tool. It is not a practice you do once and forget. It is a code the body carries and can reactivate whenever the alarm tries to return. The seal is complete. Your body now carries an installed capacity, not just a passing experience. And this capacity can be accessed whenever necessary because the base learned where the alarm loses its function. The difference between opening without support and opening with true containment is now installed in your body as a trackable experience. It is not theory, it is a change in the way the pelvis responds to movement, how the breath descends, how the sacrum seats when you stand up from a chair or move through a gesture that used to come loaded with anticipation. The alarm at the base began to deactivate because the core finally received the safety signaling it had been waiting for years. And this reorganizes not only the pain, but the way you inhabit your own center. The 9090 portal is only the entrance. There is an entire territory of somatic practices, geometries of safety, and rituals of autonomic disarmament that reorganize deeper layers of the temple you carry. Each practice reveals a different portal in the nervous system. Each geometry teaches the body a new way to release vigilance and recover the trust the alarm had blocked. What you access today is the beginning of a journey where the body stops being a problem to be corrected and returns to being sacred territory to be inhabited. Peter Levine wrote, "Trauma is not in the event, but in the unresolved response of the nervous system. When you offer the body the chance to complete what was left suspended, when the back finally opens with enough containment, what dissolves is not only tension, it is the old pattern that kept the alarm active, waiting for a threat that no longer exists. When the divine core seals, when the sacrum seats, the body recovers its original function as an antenna between earth and creation. This is not symbolic, it is restoration of the vertical axis where energy flows without blockage, where the base sustains without compensating, where the temple recognizes again that it can trust its own foundation. The source created the body as a portal, and when the portal is obstructed by alarm, everything stagnates. When the portal opens, life returns. If this content resonated with you, leave your like, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next somatic reorganization practices. Share this video with someone you recognize living this pattern of persistent pain in the sacroiliac joint. Someone who tried everything but never touched the back with true containment. Consider becoming a channel member. Your contribution makes it possible to produce more content with this depth and reach more people who need this knowledge. Write in the comments, "I open the back of the pelvis and release sacroiliac pain." This affirmation anchors what just happened in your body, marks the transformation in the physical world, and creates living testimony for others who will read and recognize that the path exists. To keep exploring geometries of safety and practices that reorganize the deep structure of your body, click the video that appears on the screen now. The base that lived decades in vigilance finally recognized the ground. The alarm lost its function because the sacrum found the axis. And what remains when the pain releases is not absence, but presence. The body returns to the state where creation happens without defense, where movement flows without fear, where you finally inhabit the temple that was always yours.